In this video, you're going to learn how to find the volume of any prism. Remember that volume is the amount of space inside an object, or the amount of space that something occupies. Volume is measured in cubic units, which is often written as units to the third power. Now, back in elementary geometry, you learned to find the volume of a rectangular prism by using the formula volume equals length times width times height. That's one that we're all familiar with. And while this formula works very nicely for the rectangular prism, it's not very useful to us in finding the volume of any other type of prism, such as a triangular prism or a pentagonal prism or any base other than a rectangle. So what we're going to do is use this generalized formula to find the volume of any prism. The formula for finding the volume of any prism says to multiply the area of the base. The area of the base is always represented by capital B, not to be confused with lowercase b, which can represent the length of one side of the base and the height of the prism. So when we see this capital B, we think area of the base. That's really important. Capital B is area of the base. So volume of the prism is area of the base times the height of the prism. Now, one really nice thing about this formula is that it can be found on the reference sheet for high school math. So you don't even have to memorize this formula. So if we look here, just read general prism, volume is equal to area of the base times the height. So in looking at this first example, it's really important to be able to figure out which pieces of the prism are our bases. So let's go ahead and take a look at this question. It says a common design for swimming pools is for the depth to gradually change from the shallow end to the deep end. They want us to use the dimensions found for the swimming pool to find the volume of water that the pool can hold. So again, the very first thing you need to decide is where are the bases? Are the bases the left and the right sides? Are the bases the top and the bottom? Or are the bases the front and the back? Remember that in order to be bases, there's two criteria that need to be met. They need to be both parallel and congruent. Well, if we look at the picture, the left side and the right side, while they're parallel, they're not congruent. They therefore cannot be the bases. The top and the bottom are not parallel, and they therefore cannot be the bases. It's the front and the back of this particular prism that are the bases. So the bases, front and back. And if you don't clearly see the bases, it may be helpful to you to draw a picture so that you know exactly what kind of figure you're working with. These bases are actually trapezoids. Since the formula for finding volume is to multiply area of the base times the height, and our base is in the shape of a trapezoid, we first need to find the area of this trapezoid. So as far as dimensions for the trapezoid, the left base of the trapezoid is 10. The right piece over here we can grab from the back side here, which is 4. And the height of this trapezoid we can also grab from the back, 30 feet. So to find area of the trapezoid, remember we're going to average the two bases together, or multiply 1/2 times the sum of the two bases, and multiply that times the height of the trapezoid. So the two bases are going to be the two parallel sides of the trapezoid, the 10 and the 4. And the height of this trapezoid is the 30. Making the area of this trapezoid 210 square feet. So now that I know the area of my base, I can come back over here to my volume formula, and I want to multiply 210 square feet times the height of the prism. The height of the prism is going to be the distance between the two bases. So the distance between the two trapezoids here, 15 feet. So now I'm going to go ahead and multiply on my calculator 210 times 15. And when I multiply the 210 times 15, I find that the volume in the pool is 3,150 in either cubic feet or feet to the third. So important ideas to notice there is that the bases have to be both parallel and congruent. If they're not parallel and congruent, you may not use them for the base. And that the formula is to multiply area of the base times the height in order to get the volume. Okay, and going on to the next one, they give us a rectangular prism and they tell us that the volume is 600 cubic feet. They want us to find the surface area. So the surface area would just be the area of all surfaces of that particular rectangular prism. So in this case, because it's a rectangular prism, it's probably going to be easiest to use the formula length times width times height. And incidentally, if you multiply length times width, you get the area of the base, which is where that formula for the volume of a base came from. But I'm just going to go ahead and substitute in here the volume that I know. The length is 30, the width is 20, the height is x, and it really doesn't matter which one you use for the length, the width, and the height there. So in this particular case, I end up with 6,000 equals 600 times x. And when I divide both sides by 600, I find that x is equal to 10. So this length here is 10 feet. So if I want to think about surface area, I'm going to think that the surface of this figure is made up of 6 different rectangles. Actually, 3 different rectangles that appear twice. The front and the back is 30 feet long by 10 feet high, giving me an area of 300 square feet. The rectangles that make up the right and the left side of this box are 30 feet by 20 feet, making their area 600 square feet. And the rectangles that make up the top and the bottom of this box are 10 feet by 20 feet, making their area 200 square feet. So I've got 2 of these totaling 600 square feet, 2 of these totaling 1,200 square feet, and 2 of these totaling 400 square feet. So when I add the areas of all surfaces together, I end up with 2,200 square feet. All right, up at the top of the next page, like always, I'm going to have you take a minute to think about what you saw and heard and put in your own words the most important takeaways from this video. And then see if you can go ahead and find volumes for those questions on page 7.